being an immigrant, it takes a lot of courage to move from your country, like thousands of miles away from home, leaving everything behind to have to come to a country like America to live the American dream and pursue maybe better education, better economic benefits and stuff like that for yourself. So there's definitely a lot of stress that comes with just being an immigrant, the fear of the unknown, the uncertainty of whether or not this dream is actually going to be the American dream.
That is so true.
And sometimes too, just the idea of even the language or the accent thing that people have to deal with. Many immigrants that I've interacted with does not know what it means to seek help. Now, there is this community living back, at least where I'm from, Nigeria, where people can talk about their problems and family members just intervene. It's a community.
Yes.
But the American system is very different, right? Even when you're talking to someone who you feel like you're close with, the person may not really be able to support you as much just because of the baggages and the things that people deal with. They have their own lives to live.
I can see how for those that feel like they have to start over. I know someone that they have, the executive level in Nigeria, they were working for a bank, but then when they came here, they had to start over and then down their security. I know multiple people that are, starting out as a CNA, or like, what do they call it? Yeah, CNA and all the things. Like, I can just imagine like the self-doubt that brings on. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Own Your Brand Show. Today I have my dear friend Efe Hagley. She is a licensed mental health counselor as well as a proud owner of I Care Cleaning Services. She, just like me, is an immigrant from Nigeria and we're so proud to be here in this country. But not everybody can say that. As an immigrant, it's very difficult for us to integrate into the system, and that could be a mental health situation. So we're going to be talking today about how immigrants can navigate, being embedded into this country and all of the situations that we might go through so that we can be successful in the country like America. So without much ado, let's get into it. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Victoria. It's just an honor to be here. I am so excited to be here just talking about this very important topic that people don't typically address. So it's an opportunity for us to dive into these very unique issues that would improve the lives of people overall.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit, for those that don't know you, I know who you are. I know what you've been doing. You've been working really hard, but just tell everybody a little bit about your background in mental health.
Yeah, so I am a licensed mental health counselor and I have been doing counseling for over 12 years. So I have a master's in clinical psychology and I had the opportunity to practice in Nigeria and do some work in South Africa and now in the United States, where I currently work at the hospital as a clinician, they would say, just providing mental health care for people that are struggling with whether psychosis, depression, anxiety, name it all. So my journey for mental health kind of started when I started to notice the need in our community to just continue to support people. I mean, we cannot navigate or we cannot eliminate stress or traumatic events overall, but if people are equipped with the right skills and stuff like that. So I just felt like that's one way that I wanted to kind of dive in and support people to just be their best self and think about their life and work towards the goals that they want to achieve. So really excited.
So, what you say is so important. And, as a Nigerian, I feel like, there's a ton of people, there's a ton of immigrants in this country. We know that it's actually one of the hot topics in the election cycle as well. But, the truth, like you said, the country is stressful. Life is stressful regardless. But then when you add the stress of being an immigrant and whether or not you are wanted in the country or whether or not you made it the right way, legally or not, right? You're now in a new country, you're trying really hard to embed yourself to be a part of, I feel like that itself is it's another level or layer of stress. So it's really important that we have people like you that understands, because you've experienced part of that stress and you also educate people with all of your years of experience as well.
Absolutely. So I mean, being a human being and even just living in a society can be in itself very stressful. However, being an immigrant, you know, it takes a lot of courage to move from your country, like thousands of miles away from home, leaving everything behind to have to come to a country like America to live the American dream and pursue maybe better education, better economic benefits and stuff like that for yourself. So there's definitely a lot of stress that comes with just being an immigrant, the fear of the unknown, the uncertainty of whether or not this dream is actually going to be the American dream.
That is so true.
And sometimes too, just the idea of even the language or the accent thing that people have to deal with. I would tell you my story, for example.
I have a story too.
I'll tell you my story, for example. So I consider myself a very confident person. I've always been very goal-oriented and I've always worked really hard to achieve most things that I want to achieve. However, when I first got to the country, there was this culture shock of having to learn to do things differently. On top of that, I was also meant to have to repeat myself over and over again.
Yeah, I can relate.
When people tell me, pardon, what did you say? Sometimes it's not because they're trying to be mean. It's just the fact that they really didn't understand what I was saying. And that starts to kind of affect my self-esteem. Because I started wondering, am I speaking English? Am I less of, you know, things like that?
I mean, we spoke English back home.
Exactly.
We learned English in school.
But there's just these nuances to living in America and interacting with the people in America that make it really, really hard for immigrants, at least the first few years when they are kind of, especially first generation immigrants, I would say, when they are kind of settling into the country, that kind of bring about doubt, that brings about frustration, that brings about anxiety and even stress. And most of the time, immigrants just go back into their shell and they start to question their essence and even start to question whether or not they actually know what they're doing. That's where I come in. I just really like to talk to immigrants about the skills, the talents and stuff like that they already have and how they can use it as an opportunity to navigate this complex system called America. So they can use their potential to the fullest, right? Because I mean, America is the country of immigrants. But just the uniqueness that everybody brings is what makes America beautiful. But it can, like I said, when you first come here, it can really be stressful to even have to deal with the nuances of the culture, the expectations, and how people interact and do things.
So let me tell you about my experience when I first of all, when I came here when I was 17, and on the plane, I remember thinking about this is too funny. I've never gone on a plane ever in my life. So I got my ticket, I got on the plane, I thought I could sit anywhere. So I sat down, I found the first seat and I sat down. And then someone came to me and said, you're sitting at my seat. And I was looking at him like, there's so many seats around here. Why are you not finding your own? So the hostess came and she told me, look at the number and go say where you're supposed to sit. Okay, so I went to do that. So eventually, when they were going through, they would say something. They were trying to feed us, and then the lady would say, "These are the options that we have." And all I heard was,
and then you have to make decisions.
And I had to make a decision. The only thing I was hearing when she was talking was Coke. So every time when she talks, I said, "Oh, Coke." So she would give me a Coke. And then she will, because it was a long flight, so I think we had like 2 meals. And then we'll come back again, say all the things, Coke. And I said, oh yeah, Coke. By the time I left, I had like multiple cans of fun. I was so hungry. Now, fast forward when I started working here, or even my first year in here too, I felt like I started understanding that people didn't understand my accent, and you will have questions like, where are you from? Because they want to be nice, but also, it's kind of like they don't understand you. But then later on, people stopped asking me that, but I can tell from their facial expression that they did not understand what I said. Like I can, I'm talking and then they are lost. And you can see that, oh my God, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it can be the silent treatment. It just seems as though they just ignore what you're saying. Because for some people, they don't know how to kind of address that.
And they don't want to embarrass you.
They don't want to get you maybe offended. As we are learning the American culture, don't forget, the American people are also trying to learn our culture and learn how to interact with us, because many of them have probably never traveled out of here to go do that. And then we're going to probably talk about that, because I've had many questions even at the hospital. By the way, I work in a team that is all like American, and I am the only immigrant, and I've had to give like lectures and talks about, best way to kind of one, or maybe better way to interact with someone from another culture, so you don't get somebody offended or stuff like that. And it's just amazing the willingness that I actually see in people wanting to really learn about this uniqueness of other people that work within the same space that they work. So if you do have that questions about maybe it's going on in your mind or in anybody's mind watching about, yes, I think I've dealt with this before, but I really didn't know how to interact. Maybe I can be of help and provide you some guidance on how to best interact with other people that might be from a different culture than you.
Yeah, thank you. That's really great. The other thing that I'm finding that a lot of immigrants struggle with is like, a lot of us already finished college back home. But when we're coming here, it's like either you have to go back to school or like, you have to go back to doing like mania jobs when you had really good jobs back home, like as an executive. But because one way or the other, like the educational system maybe doesn't match up or so, people are doing taxi driving, they're doing security, and that really weighs on their self-esteem, on their, so like, have you seen some of that?
Yes, I have. As a matter of fact, I've seen a lot of that. So in as much as people will blame it on the educational level or quality back in wherever country they might be coming from, I think it's more so to do with the amount of information that people have. Again, I'm going to use myself. I like to really self-disclose sometimes, because I found it to be very helpful to the people that I work with and even people that I interact with. So for me, for an example, I didn't have to go back to school here when I came to the U.S. It took a long process, but I was able to bring all the documents that I have back home that I used to study, and I was able to kind of qualify for taking the licensure exam. So if people can be patient and kind of dig a little bit more, there might just be opportunities. And it's not just me, I've heard of other people too. A friend of mine that is also in California, Oregon, and those places, how they are able to still be able to work professionally with the degrees that they brought from their own country, and they are doing it. So I would encourage people, just dig into information, make phone calls. Don't be afraid to pick up that phone and call whether a licensing board or organizations that are responsible for making certain decisions, emailing them over and over again. Sometimes you might be ignored, but do it again.
Right.
So the more information you have, the more likelihood that you'll be able to navigate it. Another thing is also sometimes the course that you study in school can also be a very important fact or factor in that. So for example, if somebody study certain courses, it's not maybe as what people would consider really unique here. So that's another thing to consider. But in any case, I would think that no matter the course of study that you have studied, there has to be a way that you can fit into, if not higher level positions, but at least middle level positions. I don't think that people have to necessarily start from the bottom. Right. Some people would have to and then kind of build upon their skills. Some other people, I think, might be able to just get into the system and start from somewhere, but definitely not like the lowest of lowest positions, but also maybe middle level, and then start to grow into the positions that they really would want to.
Yeah. So tying that back to the mental health, like I can see how for those that feel like they have to start over. I know someone that they have, the executive level in Nigeria, they were working for a bank, but then when they came here, they had to start over, and then now they're security. I know multiple people that are, starting out as a CNA, or like, what do they call it? Yeah, CNA and all the things. Like, I can just imagine like the self-doubt that brings on, like my husband, was a doctor in Nigeria practicing, but we understand that the system, we will have to start over here. So I remember having that conversation with him when we were deciding, should I come back to Nigeria or should he should come back here? But I needed to make sure that it was okay that, look, you have to start over in, like you have to take some of this exam, but I was worried for his mental health, because that means that for him as a man of the house, he wouldn't be able to work because I was on a visa that didn't allow him to work at the time, and I remember our first year of our marriage was kind of tough because my husband, who is a provider, who is a professional, who is a doctor in Nigeria, is sitting home, and his wife is going out to go work to bring in money. And then it got to the time where I was even pregnant and he couldn't do much to help me. So I would see my husband just be like, sometimes sad, but it didn't make me feel bad. He didn't, but I could tell that he was struggling, So going back to that mental health,
it is definitely, I am glad you raised that point. It's definitely impacts people's self-esteem, self-worth when you are already at a managerial position in your previous country or in your country of origin, and you've kind of have grown to that level and have to come kind of start all over. Plus, you have to work with people that probably at some point that if you were not here in the US, for example, they probably wouldn't necessarily be able to make it through to your office without some certain protocols or processes that they have to go through. Yes, and I have also seen many immigrants too, for whatever reason, people will not seek help, right? Some people don't even go to the hospital for just fear of the unknown and many things. So there are many people that are out there that if you ask them, they've never been to a doctor's appointment for years.
So let's unpack that, right? Like, a lot of people that are coming from back home, we don't even see mental health as a disease, and I think what you're trying to say is that we need to change that mindset too, because, we used to like witchcraft or like your mother-in-law is the one doing you all of the things, but those are real problems that require professional help for.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, and you're absolutely right. People still believe that, but I think the narrative is also changing because people are becoming more aware, more informed, and people are beginning to think of multiple ways of seeking help. Don't forget, when it comes to even the practice of mental health, we as mental health professionals, we still encourage the holistic self.
Right.
So when we talk about the holistic self, we cannot completely take away the spirituality and the religious aspect of someone's life if that's very important to them. But we also know that what makes somebody unique or what makes someone a complete entity isn't just about the spiritual aspect of the person.
Right.
So we're able to bring in the health, we're able to bring in family support, social interaction, and all of that. So in as much as we respect the fact that people have religious beliefs and cultural beliefs that is very unique to them, we also encourage them to explore other opportunities that might be there for them to, have a holistic life and overall an improved mental health to support their, overall physical health and other aspects of their life too. So there's limitation to what we know. So having practiced as a therapist here, we are just limited on the information that we have, especially when it has to do with the cultural beliefs of people. So it is kind of hard these days to now say, oh, well, it is not that, it is this. However, we do know that there are many factors that could lead to people developing mental health issues.
Right.
Spirituality could be one of them.
Right.
Predispositions could be one of them, and many other things. So in as much as people have those spiritual beliefs or people have those religious beliefs or cultural beliefs, I still encourage them to explore all possible possibilities that could impact the way they're feeling, the way they're thinking, the way they're acting and stuff like that, and just seek holistic help to help them improve themselves.
So what would you say is the biggest mental health challenges that immigrants have?
I think first of all is just the fact that many immigrants that I've interacted with does not know what it means to seek help. Now, there is this community living back, at least where I'm from, Nigeria, where people can talk about their problems and family members just intervene. It's a community.
Yes.
But the American system is very different, right? Even when you're talking to someone who you feel like you're close with, the person may not really be able to support you as much just because of the baggages and the things that people deal with. They have their own lives to live. So it is okay to talk to a stranger. As a matter of fact, I tell people, a stranger will not judge you, right? Most likely not, because they don't know your personal, they don't know you, and the therapist have been trained, for example, to kind of just listen. And that idea too, immigrants sometimes feel like that again spirituality where you have to, or religiosity where you have to bind and reject and rebuke and don't say negative things over yourself. It is okay to start to handle problems as they start by just like, I went to work today, this happened, I think like this about myself now, and I now feel sad, and it's making me having difficulty getting out of bed. Can I talk to somebody about that? Instead of like, okay, well, it doesn't matter, maybe I'm overreacting, and then it keeps piling up and piling up and piling up. And just because the resiliency that our culture teaches us, it becomes really hard to now stoop to that point where we actually seek help.
Yeah.
So people wait until things get out of hands, like really, really bad, before they go seek help. And don't forget, when it comes to mental health issues, the best time to get the best of results is when you start to navigate these issues earlier on. The more you wait, the more damage is being done to the brain, the more self-worth is being reduced, the more stress pile up, the more relationships start to fall apart. You know, it just goes on and on. Meanwhile, if we were to just address these issues as they come and recognize that, okay, the American culture isn't like Nigerian culture, for example, where somebody's available to you to give you hours of their time to just listen to you. Everybody is up and going
Easy
here. So it's just okay to reach out and say, hey, I need to talk to someone about how I felt today or how I am feeling today.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that we're built to be resilient. You know, people will be like, you're not tough. What's wrong with you? You're tough. Like, why? You know, things like that. And it powers on. You know, like when. So what I'm hearing you say is that the moment you come into this country, there's some challenges we already know. The language barrier, you know, the accent barrier, you know, all the things. But it's okay to talk to someone about it, because perhaps you're not the only one going through that, and people can help you. People like you that understand the cultural differences can understand, because I think part of the problem is being afraid that the therapist would not understand their culture.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So we've had instances at the hospital where people don't show up for their therapy sessions, maybe because they feel like this person wouldn't understand. However, the narrative is also changing. Even American therapists are now being taught to respect people's cultures and value, and first of all, think about the norms that are, you know, that is standard in other people's country before you label something as a mental health disorder or stuff like that. So that is definitely, we call it cultural competency in therapy in the mental health field. And that is beginning to change. However, yes, people still have that fear, right? For many reasons. I would feel comfortable to talk to somebody that is from my culture who is a therapist than I would someone that isn't, right? That is just natural. You would trust somebody you know or that you think would understand a little bit more what you're experiencing than talking to a complete, you know, somebody that is not, that have no idea, you know, what you're talking about. But however, we also know that there are limitations. It's not always all the time that you would find a therapist from your culture that you could talk to. Believing and trusting that every therapist that you interact with to some point have been taught how to be culturally competent can make that huge difference in you still seeking help instead of not seeking help at all. So no matter how small the help that you're seeking, it is better than not seeking it at all.
That's so good. That's really good. Now, I know that some of the other problem is being labeled as having mental health disorder. You know, and I know you're going to say that is changing too, but I'll be honest with you, like, you know, back home, if someone has mental health, it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
so I think what you're talking about here is stigma.
Yeah,
right?
the stigma.
It's been so stigmatized.
Yes.
The society has put so much labeling and into mental health issues. For example, people with mental health disorders are dangerous. People with mental health disorders are to be feared. People with mental health disorders aren't they are not consistent. Like they can change anytime. Just that fear. But if people look at it from a perspective of, instead of what is wrong with this person, why don't we say what happened to this person? So the trauma component of things, sometimes when people, a mental health disorder doesn't just come from the blues. People have had experiences that is hard. hard to navigate.
Yeah.
Experiences that are very, very, very traumatic that people probably haven't paid attention to. So if the society starts to kind of now talk about mental health disorder as like just having other illnesses, right? If somebody was to have cancer, we know that stress can also bring about cancer, right?
Yeah.
Just the same thing as mental health. Are we going to stigmatize against somebody that have, you know, a physical health issues as well? So people don't just wake up in the morning and start to have a mental health disorder. There's been a lot that has happened in their life. If people can just take a moment to understand and just ask, why is this person? How come, right? What really happened to this person versus what is wrong with this person?
Right.
You know, so it's not about, it's just like somebody that the society have treated so unfairly. When we ask that question, what is wrong with the person, we also now make that victim becomes the perpetrator of this act. Meanwhile, it is actually the other way, where this person have experienced so much pain, so much grief, maybe sorrow, or even other things that the society, knowingly or unknowingly to this person, have kind of put into this person. So instead of taking that seat of a victim and we actually trying to understand what has happened to this person, what has been the experience that this person had to experience in life versus what is wrong with this person.
I like that perspective because when you ask the question, what happened, you know, and you really seek genuinely to know what happened, you might find out how you can help prevent that for somebody else.
Absolutely.
Because like, so as a Caucasian or American, right, if you find out from an immigrant, okay, so what happened, and you realize that the struggle with their accent or like trying to get a better job is part of what led to that mental health situation, like maybe that could help that person, me, you know, be kinder. You know what I mean? You know what? Okay, I'm gonna be to the next person when I hear someone with an accent or have, you know, like I can help them not compile the problem that eventually leads to.
Yeah, I think the way I encourage people to think about it is, again, using that walking in somebody's shoes. Think about your life for a moment. Take a pause. Think about your life and think about the possibility of you leaving America to go live thousands of miles away. You don't have families, you don't have friends, and you don't have access to information. Kind of think about what it would look like for you to settle in the others, the problems you might possibly face, and kind of think about immigrants like that. So no matter how sophisticated, no matter how intelligent a first generation immigrant is, there's a lot of loopholes, there's a lot of bridges, name it, that needs to be overcome before they can actually, use their potential to the fullest.
Yeah.
Access to information is one of them, right? They have very limited information for immigrants when they first come into this country, at least in the state of Indiana, where people are here, they don't even know what to do, right? Now, we're not talking of people that are here illegally. We're talking of people that are here legally, but have no idea what to do. They don't have access to resources. They don't have access to information. They don't even have access to simple things like how to register for Medicaid program. Many of them don't have access to healthcare, just name it, right? So there's just a lot of challenges that come with it, and sometimes just actually asking that genuine question of how can I help can really make a difference. Many, at least for most immigrants that I've interacted with, including, the people that I currently work with at the hospital, they just want a better life for themselves. They just want a better life for their family. They're hard workers. They are here. They don't cause trouble for the most part.
Right.
And they just want to be here to help and support as much as they can. And I mean, there is just a lot to do in terms of whether providing information, giving a hug, pointing them to the right direction, and just really be curious to really get to know them and understand them. And one way we can do that is by asking questions. How can I help? Just that simple questions. I can give you an example here, Victoria. Someone was asking about, I think it was like piercing your ears or something like that. It's not in the American culture for babies, especially female babies, to be born and then you have your ear pierced. Where I'm from, it's just part of the birthing process, right? Yeah. When you give birth to a baby and then they just do it, right? Yeah. As they're having their, shorts and stuff like that. Well, when I came and gave birth to my second daughter in 2017, the ears were pierced, right? And then when I met a Nigerian and they're like, is this a boy? I'm like, no, it's not a boy, it's a girl. And they're like, no, the ear have to be pierced and stuff like that. And then they punched the ear and stuff like that. And one day I was in the midst of friends at church and we're having conversation. They were talking about, I think it was a baby shower. And they were talking about piercing of the ear and stuff like that. And somebody asked a question about that. It wasn't so much about the question that was asked that tipped me off. It was more so the way the question was asked. So instead of using directional questions to like, I bet in Nigeria you guys have to pierce your ear with or without your permission, versus in Nigeria, what's the practice over there? So even though you're asking the same questions, but you're really curious for me to educate you. But in the first instance, you're kind of like telling me what happens in my country, even though you've not been there.
Well,
you get what I mean? I bet, you're certain that that's it. So even though it was framed as a question, but it wasn't a question, I found that a little bit offensive because I didn't think that was appropriate. So it would have probably be better to just kind of twist the question a little bit, change the way you say it, and say, hey, tell me about it. How does it work in Nigeria? And then I'll be more than happy to educate you because I can see now that you're curious. So I think for a lot of people, when it comes to interacting with other people that is not the same culture as you, and I would also think even with people in the same culture, to just actually phrase your question bearing in mind that the idea is for you to learn, especially when you don't know, versus saying it in a way as though you're judging or you're certain. Maybe you just read it in a book. Maybe it's not true. Like in Nigeria, for example, we have over 250 something ethnic groups.
Yes.
It's just even hard to be in that country and think that you know everything happening in every
like
culture.
you and I are not even from the same
we don't
part.
speak the same language, but we are from Nigeria, right? So I encourage people to genuinely be curious about getting to know people, getting to understand their culture, by just asking in a way that is not so directional, but open-minded and open-ended.
Wow. Yes. Oh my God, you've given us so much information today. And so for those people that are watching and they are maybe new or know someone that is new to this country, what are some of the things that they can use to identify that, okay, I need to go seek help for this? We've talked about a lot of them, but if you can summarize it, like some of the common things that they shouldn't brush aside as, don't worry, I'm tough enough. Like that you think that if they're noticing this and it's causing a certain feeling, or they should seek help.
Yeah, so I think the first thing that will be on the list would be worrying. When you have excessive worrying, uncertainties, where you are beginning to have difficulty sleeping at night, just because your mind is all over the place thinking about the things that you need to do that you haven't been able to do, or kind of just thinking about just worrying about everything, right? So when there's that excessive worry that is now beginning to affect your sleep, affect your daily functioning, bringing you a lot of sadness, where you find yourself just crying for no reason, or you just find yourself losing interest in even taking care of yourself, like it's hard to get up from bed. Usually anxiety and depressive disorders will kind of start that way. When you are also noticing significant changes in the way you're thinking, or in the way you're feeling, or just getting very irritable at some point, like over and over. So those will be signs of early signs to kind of tell you something might be going on that might require me to talk to someone, especially if it's lasted for like 2 weeks or even more. It might be the best time to kind of talk to your primary care physician, if you have one, to say, hey, I think I would like to talk to a therapist. Now, gone are the days when people think that, you talk to a therapist when you have a mental health disorder. Now, I want to clarify that.
Thank you.
A mental health disorder can be a diagnosis where there is a label. Well, we don't necessarily treat diagnosis anymore. We treat the symptom.
Okay.
If somebody is beginning to have difficulty sleeping, that's a symptom. Early stage symptom of any mental health disorder, as a matter of fact. Okay. If somebody is beginning to have heart palpitations from just thinking about what the future could look like, we may not label it anxiety, may not even meet the criteria for diagnosing anxiety. However, it could be a symptom of something that's already going on that, if not taken care of, can progress into anxiety. If somebody is, and this can be everyday experiences, right? We all get worried, we all get anxious, but when it's kind of like causing some problems or impacting our daily functioning, that is when we want to start to kind of touch on those things by just talking to someone about it and saying, hey, I have not been able to sleep for 2 days, I'm not sure what's going on. So kind of just pinpointing and paying more attention to yourself, noticing the changes that you're seeing and taking them very seriously, because it can be really lonely and quiet living in a different culture, especially a culture like America. It can be really quiet, really isolative, and name it. So it's best to pay attention to how you're feeling and advocate for yourself. I tell people, advocate for yourself. Sometimes I've interacted with a lot of immigrants that for some reason or another, they try to talk to maybe a doctor about something that was going on, and they were just brushed up, they were not taken seriously. And one example is that people from Nigeria, for example, we have very high, strong threshold for pain. So if a Nigerian tell you that they are having pain, take them very, very seriously.
That's not by 12 on the
So if they tell you the pain, if you say, can you rate your pain level from 0 to 10, and they say is 5, take it as a 9. Yeah, take it as a 9 because it does a lot of pain, right? So just again, being curious, like we said before, to kind of understand that nuances and advocating for yourself. People are going to either ignore or not, maybe don't because they want to, but because they are afraid, they don't know how to approach your specific circumstance. They are afraid to make mistakes or say the wrong things or not say the wrong thing. Just continue to advocate for yourself. If you have to say it 10 times, if you have to say it 3 times, if you have to demonstrate it, if you have to write it, in as much as your needs are being met as an immigrant, I would say stand up for yourself, advocate for yourself. Sometimes the people that are in front of you may not really, really know what you need, because they don't understand it, right? And if they are not showing that interest to understand, it is now your responsibility to make sure that they understand. And I can't tell you how many times that I've had to stand up for myself in my professional life, in my personal life, constantly talking about it, to the point that sometimes I was named a troublemaker, but it's working, right? Because again, whoever that I've interacted with, they are not bad people. It just means they don't understand me. They don't understand my culture. So instead of trying to blame them, I first started thinking about it as, okay, how can I help this person understand? Right? How can I get what I want? Why I'm being patient with this person, explaining it to this person using multiple ways, right? So self-advocacy is definitely key.
That's good. So for those people that are immigrants and having issues, self-advocacy. And then also for the people on the other side, you're saying be patient enough to try and understand. Ask the question, be curious about what happened. So I'm glad that we balanced the two sides of the coin there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have talked about advocating for yourself, seeking help, but we know that there's so many people that are afraid or they don't even know who to call. I want to say now that you are the person to call. If at least, call you and you can, show them the direction and things like that. So can you tell us what help you can offer to our immigrant community?
So I can do a few things, right? For those of us that are in the state of Indiana, I'm licensed in the state of Indiana, so I can practice whether, me as a person or even referring you to the right places. So I can definitely provide direct services. I do that. Another way that I can support can be just pointing you the right direction. I have a lot of resources and information under my belt that I can share with folks to refer them to the right places for whatever they need, be it whether legal help, mental health related help, even social resources and other resources that may need in the community, or how to even just link them to the right health facility for whatever they need. So I do have that. There's also other resources like housing. If somebody is going through stress of not knowing what to do, employment resources is also there. So I kind of I've been fortunate or blessed to work with a team that we have a lot of information regarding that area here in the state of Indiana to support. Now, if you are outside of Indiana and you are wondering how you can be of help, I also have a network of therapists that I have worked with in the last few years not just therapists, mental health providers that if I don't know someone directly in the state that you're in, I can ask a colleague that probably knows somebody there that can provide us information. So it's just more like having the resources that you need. It doesn't have to be me providing the services, but you can have somebody wherever you're located and even have them do that for you. For immigrants too, for people that have family members here but they are back home and not sure how to handle any mental health related issues that their loved one
because that's another level right there.
That's another level right there. I've had many calls from people just saying that, hey, I don't know how to support a family member that is back there. We are back in Nigeria and this is the struggle. So we're also here too. Give us a call. If we are not able to kind of provide that direct service, we can point them to the right direction.
That's amazing. So what about, I know you do speaking workshops for people, organizations that want to be more educated and help this community of people. So tell us a little bit about some of the services you provide.
So I do a lot of consultation work, seminar and speaking workshop organizing. Well, I don't organize it, but I show as a speaker or as a facilitator in workshops. If you have like a group that you want someone to talk to about mental health and how to navigate the stress that comes with being a first-generation immigrant, give me a call. I will be more than happy to speak in your platform and provide more information there. If you also have like other groups too, maybe you even have like campus students or students that are just needing support in that regard, having someone to come talk to them. I can do that as well. Or you just want to organize a lunch and learn seminar for your employees, give me a call too. I can talk to them about mental health, how that can improve or how that can impact their work and improve productivity overall in your workplace, and how people can take care of their holistic self to continue to help you meet your organizational goals.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm going to put all of your contact information there. So watch out for that. Yes, so one other thing that I wanted to mention, I know you don't just do the talking, you actually do the doing.
I do.
And part of that is as part of your other business, you have a cleaning business, a thriving cleaning business here in Indiana, both residential and commercial, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I know you do amazing work. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you've done that has also impacted mental health too.
So I think it all goes together. We know how important a clean space can impact our health.
Yes.
So whether physical health, mental health. So when I started the cleaning business, my goal was to kind of take away that burden and stress that comes with that, so that people can focus on things that truly matters in their life. And I cannot begin to share the stories of how people are just grateful about how we help them improve their health, physical, mental, name it, since we started cleaning for them. So yes, I do that. And we also help a non-profit organization. We partner with them called Cleaning for a Reason, where we provide free cleaning services to individuals that have been diagnosed of cancer in our community. And in 2023, for example, we were able to clean 13 homes for free.
Wow.
So, and the stories just keeps going, and our clients are just really happy to see that that's one thing they didn't have to worry about when they were taking care of their health and doing that. So it all goes back to mental health.
Yes.
Think about it. Imagine it. Sometimes I like to do this a lot. Just close your eyes for a moment. Imagine you just coming to a home that has already been clean, spotless, ready for you to just enjoy. Having a busy day, you've been out, whether taking care of the kids, doing your business, running a business as a manager, whatever that looks like. Just imagine a moment where you come into your home and everything is spotless.
Yes.
And all you just need to do is to step in, relax, and enjoy it.
I'm telling you.
So that's one of the greatest mental health I would say benefits somebody could possibly have, just knowing that you don't have to deal with all of that. So it goes back to just wanting to make people's life easier, letting people know that it doesn't have to be so chaotic, right? It's part of self-care. Hiring someone to come take care of things that you can't, it can be too much. It's just self-care. So gone are the days when people considered having a cleaning service as a luxury. It's not luxury anymore. It's a necessity. If you are busy, if you need time for your family, and you need your sanity, and you want to improve your mental health, I don't see any self-care that could be better than that.
You know, I agree with you, the sanity part especially, because, and I've used your services, so I know that when I walk in the door, I don't have, like, everything is just clean, because we're coming in with a lot of baggage and stress, right? But you come in and you're like, oh,
yep, that's one thing you don't have to worry about.
That's such an amazing feeling. So, and thank you so much. 13 homes cleaned last year, 2023.
Yes. Oh, and then last year we were able to donate 2% of our profit.
Wow.
So Indiana Parkinson's Foundation. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
We are also working towards, like, we want to continue it every year where we are giving a certain percentage of our profit to a local nonprofit to just support the good work that they do. And that was really inspired by a client that we were working with that had Parkinson's disease and was just struggling. So we kind of were able to kind of come as a company to support the Indiana Parkinson's Foundation to provide just the resources. And, stuff like that.
So not only do you help with cleaning, you also give money, and then you also help in the practice of it as well.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, talk about being well-rounded.
Well-rounded, absolutely. And
Thank
sometimes
you.
I ask myself how I do all these things, but when you're doing something that is really, really important, very important work, impactful, and you just continue to hear the positive stories, you're just motivated to keep pushing and doing it, because you can see, you're just seeing the impact you're making every day. And and I'm really grateful for the amazing team that I have. I couldn't have done this by myself, trust me, without them, right? So they are up and running. Sometimes if we have to go do something on the weekend, I have a few people that are willing to just stand up and like, we got this, let's do this, So I'm really grateful for the team at IKEA Cleaning Services. Kudos to you guys.
Thank you so much for coming on. Like, I feel like this conversation has been very eye-opening, and I hope that someone out there, you've learned something. Mental health is real. It's no longer a stigma. If you need help, go for help. And we have a wonderful resource here. She's saying, call me, I got you. So until next time, make sure you take care of yourself, because your mental health starts with you. Being healthy mentally starts with you. So get help, or call Efe. She will help you out. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Victoria. It was just an honor, pleasure being here. I appreciate every work that you do, putting spotlight into some of these very interesting topics. And I'm just really blessed to have you in my life.
Thank you. Thank you. You're doing such a wonderful job, and I appreciate you so much. I just enjoy how our kids work, play together. Auntie Victoria, Auntie, all of that. So
absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.